Welcome back to the Meeple Marathon. Today we're going to be going through the past decade, 2010 to 2020. Before we go any further, I know some of you are probably saying I should have made this movie last year and I should have stopped at 2019, but I didn't get around to it last year. I still wanted to make it, and 2010 to 2020 just looked like a much more nice rounded title. So these are games, in my opinion, which were the best from each year of the past decade. Again, 2010 to 2020. These are my opinions. I am going to throw in a honorable mention in each category, most of which what the general populace might consider the best game of that year. But again, these are all just my opinion. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with 2010. In 2010, we have Forbidden Island. Now, I realize that my first game on the list here, I am showing you the app, but if you've seen my review of the app, you'll know that the app does an excellent job of giving you a digital rendition of the game. And so with the app, I no longer found it necessary to have the physical copy of the game. But this is a game that is all about resource management. You're managing a deck of cards in a small hand, and you're using these cards in order to keep an island from sinking out from under you, all while running around and collecting these various artifacts before you can then escape off the island with the helicopter. And it's got this pandemic effect that the more and more into the game you get, the more likely certain areas are going to be to sink. So it becomes inevitable that the island is going to sink around you. It's a quick game. It's very easy to set up. It can be played multiplayer, but it plays great solo. And so that's why I was always drawn to it. Now, other people may say that Seven Wonders is the better game of 2010, and I am not going to argue with them, but I honestly have never played Seven Wonders before, so I'll have to give it a try at some point. But Forbidden Island is my game of 2010. Coming in 2011 was Mage Knight, which is one of my all-time favorite games and is on easily the top 3 of most solo players' lists. This is an epic game of adventure and building up your hero. It is has elements of deck building in it, has elements of discovery and exploration. There is a little bit of dice rolling involved, but for the most part it is very straightforward with understanding whether you can conquer an enemy or not. But this building up of your character and the deck building aspect and the cards being able to do so much for you, and playing the top versus the bottom, and how at the beginning of the game you feel like you can do hardly anything, and you're barely taking out rampaging orcs, and by the end of the game you're sacking these huge castles because you can just play these epic hands. Mage Knight is a classic. It is a must play for any solo player. Frankly, it is a beast of a game. It takes a lot to get into. The instruction manual is hard to get through, but there are a lot of videos out there, including some by me, that can help you get through that. And it really is just an experience, and one that will never leave my collection. In that same year, in 2011, is another game that is in my collection and I really appreciate, and it was actually the first ever game I purchased specifically for solo play, and that is Lord of the Rings: The Living Card Game. Again, this is a classic, but it is still being provided content by Fantasy Flight, so a lot of good things there. But in 2011, I got to give the nod to Mage Knight. In 2012, Descent 2nd Edition was released by Fantasy Flight Games. This was the first ever dungeon crawler I purchased, and it is a dungeon crawler that I am still playing to this day. I am still collecting expansions for when I find them. Unfortunately, it's out of print, and they're coming out with a kind of new version. They're not calling it third edition, but Descent for me is the classic dungeon crawler. It contains epic monsters, epic battles, dice rolling, building up of your heroes, the classic tropes. Everything is there for Descent, second edition. And the app makes an amazing experience for playing solo. And that's the only way I've ever played it, and have never been disappointed with my experience in with Descent second edition. It is just such a classic dungeon crawler. So the only thing I think people have any gripes about it is that there is some dice rolling and there is some luck involved with the dice rolling. But otherwise, if you are interested in checking out a classic dungeon crawler, if you can find it, check out Descent. If not, keep your eye out for the newest edition, Descent Legends in the Dark or something like that, that is coming out in August of 2021. But Descent is, for me, the epitome of dungeon crawlers. And also in 2012 happened to be another game that's in my top 10, but Descent I had to give the nod to, but that is a Robinson Crusoe. Robinson Crusoe is a classic survival game. It plays excellent solo. You can play multiplayer, but I have never seen the point. It's a very thinky game. It's a very heavy game, very thick rule book to get through, but it is your classic survival game. The scenario variety is amazing in that game, and it really fits the theme well. So that's another great game to check out that also came out in 2012. In 2013, we have Viticulture. Viticulture was the first ever worker placement game I added to my collection, and it is a classic for many people. It has a very open theme that is very inviting for a lot of people to come in. It's like, hey, winemaking. Who couldn't love that theme? But the solo play in here is really tight. The solo AI is really easy to manipulate and play with, and they have solo scenarios. So this is not only a great worker placement game for you and your friends, but also for solo play as well. And the theme is just very unique in that nature as well. Also in 2013 came Caverna, which is another worker placement game. For some people, they say this replaced Agricola as their epitome of a worker placement game. I've never played Caverna, so I can't speak much on that, but I do know that it's very popular and it came out at the same time. So if you're looking for a great starter worker placement game, look no further than Viticulture. In 2014, we have Star Wars Imperial Assault. This, for me, I picked up at the same time as Descent, and it was essentially the dungeon crawler that I'd always wanted with the Star Wars theme I was longing for. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and Rebellion is Star Wars in a box, but for me, this is my favorite Star Wars game to play. I love playing out the scenarios. I love playing on the app. I love painting up all the miniatures. It is one that I regrettably have not been able to get on the channel, so but have no fear, some channel content is coming soon. But Star Wars Imperial Assault is just a must play for any Star Wars fan. Also in that same year, Splendor was released. In 2015, we got Zombicide Black Plague. Zombicide Black Plague was my first introduction into the Zombicide universe, and Zombicide is just pure fun. It's not a dungeon crawler, it's not a survival game, it's not very strategic, it is just dice chucking fun, and you have to understand that going in. You are basically going to encounter waves and waves of zombies who are very easy to take out, but as the game progresses, they're just going to continue coming and the hordes are going to continue to grow. But that's all it is. It's just running around and it is slaughtering zombies at an amazing pace. It's all about gaining these awesome weapons and comboing them up together and rolling those 4s, 5s, and 6s and taking out zombies. And that's all it really is. If you are looking for something like that, that's just pure fun, and the zombie theme doesn't bother you, then any of the Zombicides would be a great choice. I just prefer the fantasy theme of Zombicide, Black Plague, and Green Horde over the kind of modern day theme and the space theme of Invaders. That's just my personal preference. But for just pure fun with a lot of great miniatures, look no further than Zombicide. Many people would argue with me that also in 2015 we got Kingdom Death Monster. Now, Kingdom Death Monster is one of the most epic games out there. It has a very intense adult theme to it. It is a survival strategic battle game. You also have an element of kind of village world building in it. It is not one that I have ever experienced personally. It's one that I have followed many people on YouTube play through their campaigns. Barrett at Meet Me at the Table, I'll put a link for him, his channel in the description below. If you ever want to live Kingdom Death Monster without having to pay the price tag, check out his entire campaign that he has posted on YouTube. It's great fun to watch. So Kingdom Death Monster is there, but for me personally, Zombicide Black Plague was the best game of 2015. In 2016, we have our third Fantasy Flight Miniatures game, and that is Mansions of Madness 2nd Edition. This game definitely just fits in what I enjoy in a board game. Kind of exploration, dice rolling, miniatures, adventure, things like that. But Mansions of Madness sets itself apart from Descent and Star Wars Imperial Assault, that Mansions of Madness is not just about fighting. It's not about just running into a room, spawning the monsters, and taking them out and moving on to the next room. There is much more puzzle solving. There's much more mystery. A lot of times you are just straight running away from monsters in this game. So it definitely has a different feel than Descent or Star Wars Imperial Assault. And this one is always run with the app. So you can play Descent and Imperial Assault with just 2 players and not have an app involved. You have to play Mansions of Madness with an app, but that enables you to have puzzles and mystery, and the scenario plays a little differently every single time, and I think the app integration is excellent. So if you are looking for a miniatures game that is a little bit more about the mystery and the puzzle solving over the slaying of monsters, then check out Mansions of Madness. This is a great game. They continue to come out with content for it, along with downloadable content into the app. Also in 2016, we have Scythe, which is a game that I've never played in person, but I have had a great time with the digital version, which you can check out on my channel. Scythe is a kind of worker placement engine builder game set in this dystopian future universe, or maybe it's the past, I don't know. But Scythe, from the same producer as Viticulture, is another great game that's also soloable that I would highly recommend. So from 2016, though, I got to give it to Mansions of Madness. In 2017, it should come as no surprise that Gloomhaven is my top game of the year, and is most people's top game of the year, and still is, for many people, their top game. Gloomhaven is got a dungeon crawler feel to it, but is much more about the strategic card play, hand management, and character development of the just wide array of asymmetrical characters that you can find in the game. A huge variety of monsters that all play differently, and it can be played solo. It's actually one of the few games that I don't play solo on a regular basis, and due to spoiler reasons, it's one that I have never featured on my channel except for the digital edition, which is slightly different. The storyline is different, but the card play is there. So if that's what you're looking for, strategic card play, but you don't want to drop the $100 price tag on the 26-pound box of Gloomhaven, check out the digital version on Steam. Now, 2017 was a banner year because we also got Too Many Bones, Azul, Seventh Continent, Twilight Imperium 4th Edition, and Spirit Island. All excellent games, all are available to play solo, all are still popular today. So that just shows how good Gloomhaven was, that it outpaced all of those games and still to this day is at the top of the lists. In 2018, we have Everdell. Everdell is got some worker placement elements to it, but it is much more about building your tableau or your little city with your creatures, using the combos off the cards, the kind of free worker placements, things like that. The production value of these games is incredible. Everything from the little creature meeples to the fantastic resources, the squishy berries, and everything else. Everdell just has an excellent theme. It works well. The solo AI plays well, plays smooth. I always have amazing things to say about Everdell and just love this game to death. Also in 2018, though, we got another Creatures of the Woods game, and that is Root, which is a kind of more of an asymmetrical battling game that I've never played but have always wanted to play. So if Everdell doesn't do it for you, go check out Root. In 2019, we got Marvel Champions. Now, Marvel Champions is one of my top games right now. It is a living card game with an excellent theme, the Marvel superhero theme. And not only does it play well, but I think the fact that Fantasy Flight, with their constant release right now of expansions for the game, but the fact that you can simply pick up a hero pack and it is pre-built for you, you don't need to do any deck building prior, and all of the decks play uniquely different. They're all asynchronous in a way, and are asymmetrical in a way that it just continues to keep the game fresh. The card play is very tight. It's very straightforward, but just you have to make continuously tough decisions on which cards do you spend as resources to then pay for the cards that you want to play. And usually, a lot of times you have a handful of cards that you want to be able to play them all, but you gotta ditch some as resources to pay for the other ones. And just love the way the various villains each play differently and all the heroes play differently. Most of them have been amazing. Not all of them, but for the most part, every time a new hero pack comes out, I'm excited to play and I get a lot of enjoyment out of the game. Now, in 2019, we also got Wingspan, which Wingspan is getting up there along with Gloomhaven as winning a lot of awards, taking a lot of top spots. It's a game I also enjoy. It is a tableau builder action selection style game where you are building up your tableau of birds. It's kind of like bird watching, and similar to Everdell, the card combos that you create as you build out your tableau go from being very minor to not even being there at the beginning of the game to by the end of the game you have got these huge amazing combos that you're pulling off, really extending each and every turn, and the artwork is just amazing in Wingspan. So either one of those, Marvel Champions or Wingspan, I highly recommend. I know for some of you, you would say this is the end of the decade, but I'm going to squeeze in one more year just because I want to. In 2020, we received Marvel United. I thought it was a great game at first. I loved the miniatures. I loved how easy and quick the gameplay was. It was so straightforward, but there is a lot of strategy. And it was amazing how they were able to make the various characters feel unique, but also the villains all feel incredibly unique in how they play, making each game against various villains different in feel. But the fact that the game is so quick to play, so easy to play, so easy to teach, is just so accessible, and I have found that it has made it to my table a ton. Well, just recently, you may have noticed on the channel, we received the all-in content from the Kickstarter, which includes all of the Wave 2 expansions, including the huge stretch goal box. And so much content was added to this game that my head is spinning, but it's spinning in a wonderful way, because I have yet to play a game of Marvel United that A, I didn't enjoy, B, I didn't feel like was cheap in gameplay. I felt like it was strategic, but also that I don't think I've played a game that has lasted more than maybe maximum 30 minutes. And I think that's amazing, because I can sit down and play several games at a time. And many people have mentioned this in their reviews, but Marvel United may be the first big, huge Kickstarter game that I actually play through all the expansion content and get my money's worth out of that huge all-in pledge, because it's so easy to pull out new characters, get them to the table, and get the game going. And everything plays the same, but all these expansions are adding things a little different in, and I just think that they really did a wonderful job. And currently, their second season, I guess you could say, Marvel United X-Men, is on Kickstarter, and I cannot wait for this to come out. I am all in on this one, because X-Men for me is Marvel. I love the X-Men and am so excited for them to just add more and more content. The only thing that could make Marvel United better is if they threw a Star Wars theme onto it and made, Star Wars United and came out with these chibi miniatures for Star Wars. I would be through the roof. Anyways, Marvel United for me is just turning out, it is rising up my ranks as top game, period. So it's one that I definitely wanted to talk about. Also in 2020, we did get Jaws of the Lion, which was basically Gloomhaven 1.5. It was really the Gloomhaven we should have gotten before the main Gloomhaven. It was much better jumping off point for people, but it's honestly one that I have not gotten a chance to start yet because of COVID. So I know a lot of people would have had Jaws of the Lion as their top game in 2020, but I just cannot say enough about Marvel United. This was really a home run by CMON Games. So that is going to close out my video here. I hope you guys enjoyed this just for fun list of the top games of the past decade, 2010 to 2020. If you did enjoy this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up on YouTube. And if you'd like to see more content like this, please consider subscribing to the channel. Once again, thanks for watching. Have a great day.